What has happened, Monsieur Poirot?
Murder, mademoiselle, of the most savage nature. I have ordered all of the train doors to the outside to be sealed, with the exception of the rear door of the Athens-Paris coach, so that the engineer and fireman of the train may keep the engine's boiler provided with the coal. It would become very cold in here otherwise without the steam heat. The attendant...
His name is Matteo, I believe.
Matteo will inform us immediately if anyone else attempts to depart the train. Fortunately, the only passenger in the Athens-Paris coach is Dr. Constantine here. He has examined the body. Doctor, Mademoiselle Marceau represents the owners of this train. You may speak freely.
Oh, no! Who has been killed?
Monsieur Ratchet. So what shall we do, mademoiselle?
Monsieur Poirot, I appeal to you. We cannot wait for the Yugoslavian police.
They will detain us all for weeks while they trample evidence and bluster about with no idea how to solve a murder. Ah, if only we were in Greece.
Take command of the investigation.
Oh, must I?
Monsieur Poirot, my job isn't much, but it's all I have. The avalanche, your injury, now a murder. If it isn't solved, I will lose my job.
No, you cannot be blamed. I will have a word with Marcel. You have my guarantee that he will not fire you.
You can be on your way to your important case in England. We can avoid delays, annoyances, and 1,000,001 inconveniences for all the passengers.
I am addressing an important medical conference in London in 2 days.
Oui, c'est vrai. Any additional delay would be difficult.
We both know the longer a crime goes uninvestigated, the more difficult it becomes to solve.
Ah, yes, of course, I remember. You are the student of crime. And what you say is very true. All the same.
Solve the mystery. All we need say when the police arrive is, here is the murderer.
Mademoiselle, use your own powers of observation. Alors, Poirot, he is confined to bed in the most serious of pain. How can he take command of anything?
In my scrapbook, I have a quote from you. How does it go? To solve a case, a man has only to sit back in a chair and think. Use the little grey cells of your mind.
I have often used the murderer's own words to spring my trap. And now I am caught by my own. Well done. Eh bien, mademoiselle, I will do what I can. I ask only that you do my legwork. This would appeal to you, I think.
You know it would.
I will issue to you the challenge I once made to my friend Captain Hastings. Accept, and we will play a little game between ourselves. You will need to use your own little grey cells as much as Poirot. And in the end, we will see if the student of crime is ready to graduate. Refuse? I will guide your investigations much more. Either way, the crime, it will be solved. It is an important decision you must make now, before we proceed. I will not ask again. Do you accept?
I am no match for the foremost detective of our time. I'll be content helping you.
As you wish. If you reach an impasse, think only, what would Poirot do? Imagine that I am there beside you, offering counsel. It may help. Oh, the sight of the body will not discomfort you too much, I hope.
Oh, No, I suppose I can do that. Oh, dear. Someone must have stood there and stabbed him again and again.
There is something in the pocket of his pajamas. Something heavy. I did not disturb it.
Egg.
115. That agrees with my calculations. The man was armed? It is bizarre. Why did he not defend himself? I did not close the window despite the chill. I thought there might be fingerprints, and the cold, of course, helps preserve the body.
Regardez, mademoiselle. There is something in the pocket.
Has anything been disarranged in this compartment?
No, mademoiselle. I was careful not to move the body in making my examination. Take care. There may be fingerprints.
Quite interesting.
How many wounds are there, Doctor?
I make it 12 wounds. 1 or 2 are so slight as to be mere scratches. On the other hand, at least 3 would be capable of causing death.
Some wounds seem to have bled more than others.
You see these 2 wounds, here and here. They are deep. Each cut must have severed blood vessels, and yet the edges do not gape. They have not bled as one would have expected.
Ratchet was already dead when those were delivered?
Some little time dead.
The murderer returned to make certain Ratchet was dead?
The idea is an absurdity, of course. Even one with no medical knowledge would have been able to tell the man was already quite dead.
The wounds are scattered all over the torso.
Yes, and you see this wound here, under the right arm, near the right shoulder. Could you deliver such a blow? I have a pencil if you would like to try it.
That won't be necessary.
How do you account for it?
The murderer had unusually long arms.
Please let us not stray into the land of Poe with his murderous apes stuffing young girls up chimneys. I know something of apes. They kill by pummeling or crushing, not whittling away at their victim.
Ratchet thrashed about as he was dying.
On the contrary, he lay completely composed. The bedsheets are not disarrayed at all.
A left-handed murderer could strike there easily.
But of course, that blow was almost certainly struck with the left hand. Yet some of these blows are just as obviously right-handed.
Tell me something about the force of the blows.
Some were struck with a terrible ferocity as to drive the knife through hard belts of bone and muscle. Yet others seem to be haphazard and at random, glancing off, doing hardly any damage.
Someone striking with their eyes shut? In a blind frenzy?
And struck so many times with their eyes closed to make sure they had managed to hit a vital organ or two?
Perhaps the killer was uncertain at first, then was overcome with a bloodlust.
Or perhaps the killer tired of his exertions, weakening, yet still enjoying himself too much to leave off.
Could there be two murderers?
Perhaps. Some blows could have been struck by a strong man or very athletic woman. Others are weak, a frail woman, perhaps.
Can you estimate the time of death?
It is difficult to say exactly in these matters. The open window, the cold, you understand, complicates an estimate. But I think I can say definitely that death occurred between midnight and 2 in the morning.
That will do for now, Doctor. Monsieur Poirot.
The object was already dead when those were delivered. The murderer returned most certain Ratchet was dead. The murderer had unusually long arms. Ratchet thrashed about as he was dying, and the left-handed murderer could easily strike them, someone striking with their eyes shut in a blind frenzy. Perhaps the killer was unfortunate though, to them overcome with a bloodlust. Could there be two murderers?
And that is everything I've discovered so far.
We progress, mademoiselle. Now, let us see what we can learn.
The wounds tell too many different stories.
Oui, the matter begins to clear itself up wonderfully. The murderer was a man of great strength. He was feeble, it was a woman, it was a right-handed person, it was a left-handed person. Ah, c'est rigolo tout ça. And the victim, what does he do in all this? Does he cry out? Does he struggle? Does he defend himself? No. He awaits his doom with the greatest composure.
The box of matches suggests the round one belonged to Monsieur Ratchet.
I concur.
The pipe cleaner and the handkerchief are good clues.
Possibly. What can we learn from them?
Remember the bottle I found in the suitcase?
Oui, a sleeping draught, and the bottle half empty. It would be instructive to learn if Ratchet took his usual dosage last night.
What of the residue in the tumbler? A sleeping powder, perhaps, such as that I found in the suitcase. It might explain why Monsieur Ratchet did not cry out when he was attacked.
A possibility. However, in my experience, the usual dose of a sleeping draught would not be strong enough to prevent awakening if one were violently attacked.
The gun was unfired.
He would certainly have defended himself if he had been able. For now, it might be better if you keep the gun with you for your protection. I would not like our collaboration cut short prematurely.
The broken watch tells us the time of death exactly.
Very convenient, the broken watches.
1:15, well within Dr. Constantine's estimate of midnight to 2 a.m.
What you say is true.
Are the false teeth important?
Only to one who must wear them. And why you took for yourself the false teeth of the dead man is not for Poirot to ask. But I hope they prove themselves as useful to you as they undoubtedly did to him.
The small metal statuette. It is very old.
And possibly quite valuable. Take it with you. Learn more of it if you can.
The footprints outside the window are important.
What did they say to you?
The killer may have fled the train.
And gone where? Still, they must be investigated.
I found the inscription REV 1318 printed on the hatband of his hat.
A curious inscription indeed for the hat.
I found only the cigar in the ashtray. No pipe.
Certainly, this is a clue masculine. Monsieur Ratchet smokes the cigar, lighting it with a round match, and someone else, still to be determined, smokes the pipe, lighting it with a flat match.
The letter H can help us find the owner of the handkerchief.
A clue feminine, so dainty, and to have the letter embroidered upon it is so convenient. One cannot complain of having no clues in this case.
If a man killed Ratchet,
After the sociable smoke,
then the woman came in later, not noticing he was dead, and attacked him as well.
also not noticing that she had dropped her handkerchief. Very fortunate for us that she was so unobservant.
The burnt paper could be significant.
What strikes you as most important?
Not cigar or pipe ashes, burnt paper.
Precisement.
But the paper is impossible to read.
It is possible that some of the writing on the paper can be made legible again, if the scrap can be protected, flattened, and held firmly in place while the heat is applied. It will require something with which to handle the paper most delicately. My curling tongs there will work well. Now then, we will also need an old-fashioned woman's hat box and a source of constant heat. Something in the restaurant car, perhaps. Collect for me these items, and we will see what we shall see.
I should look for the items Monsieur Poirot needs to read the burnt scrap of paper. This door is tightly locked. It's locked fast.
This is the wrong kind of hat frame. Think, Mademoiselle Marceau. It must be made of the wire mesh. The hat frame must be of wire mesh, a type now out of fashion. No, this one will not suffice. Quite interesting. Regardez, mademoiselle.
It's locked fast. Splendid.
No, this hat frame will not work. It is not of the proper type.
I'll put this into my scrapbook so I can take a closer look at it later. The door is locked. This door is tightly locked. That will do nicely. This looks like a puzzle box. Let me see if I can get it open. And now to see what was so cleverly guarded. I'll only keep this as long as I need it. I'm no thief. It's locked fast.
A single pipe smoker aboard, and all roads lead to him.
I've already searched it thoroughly.
Regardez, mademoiselle.
I am having trouble finding all I need to read the paper.
Mademoiselle, you are having the difficulties obtaining something with which to handle the burned paper? Also the two objects of metal netting and a source of constant heat? Poirot can offer to you suggestions. But we have just made the challenge, you and I, and if I help you, it is a point for me. Do you still wish my help?
No, I will try it again, on my own.
Excellent. I applaud your tenacity.
I have everything I need to read the paper.
That is most pleasing.
I have all the pieces. All that remains is for me to assemble them properly. The curling tongs have the burnt paper firmly but delicately in their grip. The paper holder is now in place. Now on to securing a heat source.
Daisy Armstrong, c'est ça. I now know the real name of the dead man. And I know why he had to leave America.
Monsieur Poirot, I have documented that case in my scrapbook.
I remember well the case. 10 years ago, Colonel Armstrong was an Englishman. He married the daughter of Linda Arden, the most famous tragic American actress of her day. They lived in the city of New York and had one child, 3 years old, whom they adored. 2 men snatched Daisy from the arms of her nursemaid. The police were convinced that the young woman had some knowledge of the crime and questioned her relentlessly. The enormous ransom was paid, but 2 weeks passed with no word from the kidnappers. And then there was a break in the case. 2 brothers named Perkinson were identified by witnesses and tracked to a farmhouse somewhere outside of the city. The Perkinsons were arrested at the farmhouse where they and a woman not identified had been hiding. They were tried and convicted. At their trial, they implicated Cassetti, not only as the mastermind of the scheme, but the man who shot the little girl. The tearful testimony of the Perkinson brothers surprised many, but they admitted their guilt. And in America, the crime carries the maximum penalty. During the sentencing, the Perkinson brothers tried to make the escape. Jeffrey was captured, but not his brother Robert, and Cassetti had vanished without a trace. Madame Armstrong gave birth to a dead child born prematurely, and she herself died. The evening after the double funeral, a broken-hearted Colonel Armstrong returned to the family brownstone on Park Avenue, locked himself in his study, and shot himself. A body was discovered in the New York harbor shortly after Jeffrey Perkinson died in the electric chair. It was identified by a relative as Robert Perkinson. If he was a suicide or killed by Cassetti, was never known. Cassetti was still at large, seen now here, now over there, and still more tragedy was to follow. The police refused to believe the hysterical denials of the poor girl, hoping she might lead them to Cassetti. In a fit of despair, the poor girl threw herself from a window and was killed. It was proved afterwards that she was absolutely innocent of any complicity in the crime. Cassetti was the man, there can be no doubt. He had used the same methods in the past, hired men down on their luck to do the dangerous work, but taking most of the ransom for himself, and always killing the victim if the police were closing in. He had many enemies, that one.
I cannot regret that he is dead.
I agree with you, mademoiselle.
Still, it is not necessary that he should be killed aboard one of our trains. There are other places.
Indeed. The investigation continues. And we progress, no? Now is the time for the assembling of the evidence. Collect all passports, interrogate all witnesses, find some way to collect fingerprints, and seek out any clues that may aid us. If only we had some means of contacting the outside world, we might learn even more concerning certain persons here on the train. And of course, those tracks outside Monsieur Ratchet's window must be followed.
Goodness, it seems to have gotten extremely cold in here.
Mademoiselle, the engineer has just informed me. A rock from the avalanche, it struck the undercarriage of the coal tender. The pipe that carries the steam that heats the train is damaged. It must be repaired, or we will all freeze to death.
Could this be coincidence? Either way, I'd better look into it immediately.